Hey everyone, it's the Bible Study Dude. Welcome back for episode 4. I can't believe we're already halfway through this season, so let's get right into it. This one's going to open up. There's no dialogue or anything, it just follows the journey of a young boy. You're going to see a tragic accident happen to him. He's going to gain a little brother, and then after that point, I want you to pay very close attention to the two different journeys that the two brothers take. We're going to be introduced to Simon the Zealot. We are also going to be introduced, obviously, to the Zealots themselves and the secret police for the Romans. We're going to be celebrating a holiday in this episode as well. The holiday is the Feast of Tabernacles, also known as the Feast of Booths. Has a few other names. I'll get into that in my nerd notes, which are back, so don't worry. I do want to give you a heads up for anybody that has a little bit of a squeamish stomach. As they enter into Jerusalem, there are some depictions of people getting crucified. So if you don't like, blood and guts, they don't really get into that in this show, but just so you're aware, there are going to be a few people hanging on crosses as they enter into Jerusalem. One of the biggest focuses of this episode is the Pool of Bethesda, the invalid man that was healed by Jesus at the Pool of Bethesda. You can find that in John chapter 5, verses 2 through 13. And then at the end of the episode, Jesus has a little sly comment. I just want you to listen to what that comment is, and a little smirk on his face as he's walking away. That's what to watch for in episode 4, and now back by popular demand, because I know you missed it in episode 3, let's get into some nerd notes. We're going to start with Simon the Zealot. He is one of the most obscure figures among the 12 apostles. The New Testament provides minimal information about him, and historical accounts outside the Bible are mostly later church traditions that vary widely in their details. Simon the Zealot is named in all 4 of the New Testament lists of the 12 apostles: Matthew chapter 10, verse 4, Mark chapter 3, verse 18, Luke chapter 6, verse 15, and in Acts chapter 1, verse 13. He is always listed with a surname to distinguish him from Simon Peter, and Jesus choosing Simon the Zealot and Matthew the tax collector for the same group of disciples is often cited as a powerful illustration of unity in diversity, showing that the gospel transcends political differences. Beyond his name in the lists, the Bible does not record any of Simon's words, specific actions, or personal interactions with Jesus or the other disciples. Information about Simon the Zealot's later life and death comes from various church traditions and different writings, which are generally considered unreliable by most modern Western historians and scholars due to their late origins and conflicting narratives. A common tradition holds that he was martyred in Persia, modern-day Iran, perhaps by crucifixion or by being sawed in half. This is a frequent artistic attribute associated with him. In summary, reliable biblical facts about Simon the Zealot are limited to his inclusion as one of the 12 apostles and his distinguishing title. Details of his later life and death come from diverse, unverified church traditions. Now let's talk about the Zealots themselves. The Zealots were founded by Judas of Galilee, or Judah of Gamaliel, in about 6 AD. The term fourth philosophy was created by the Jewish historian Josephus. The Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Zealots were the 4 philosophies at the time. A common translation for the term zealot means one who is zealous on behalf of God. They were very nationalistic and comparable to some modern-day terroristic groups. Also known sometimes as Sicarii, which translates to daggermen because of the daggers the Zealots would carry with them. The Zealots were created in rebellion to the Roman occupation and the Romans trying to influence the Jewish people with Roman culture. The Zealots came to an end around the year 73 AD by mass suicide, about 960 Zealots, rather than surrendering to Rome. The phrase that they use in the episode, "carry out your order or never return," was a real phrase that they used. They took their missions very seriously, and you were considered a traitor if you did not follow through with your mission. Now for a bit about the Roman secret police, the Cohortes Urbanae, associated with the Frumentari, urban police force that was tasked with keeping order and preventing civilian disturbances. This military and secret police organization was primarily a courier service that evolved into an intelligence agency. They were responsible for gathering intelligence and potentially conducting assassinations. Information about the Feast of Tabernacles. It is a Torah-commanded holiday celebrated for 7 days. It is one of 3 pilgrimage festivals where all able-bodied men must go to Jerusalem and present a sacrifice to God. The booth is referred to as a sukkah. Other names for it in the Bible are Festival of Ingathering. Find that in Exodus chapter 34, verse 22. The Harvest Festival is in Exodus chapter 23, verse 16. And it is the only holiday that celebrates other nations. Festival of Tabernacles is found in Leviticus chapter 23, verses 33 through 43, and a few other locations. I'll get into that in my Bible reference guide. The Pool of Bethesda. It is widely believed by scholars that the Pool of Bethesda became a site of pagan worship, but the primary deity worshipped there was likely the Greek-Roman god of healing, Asclepius, possibly associated with the Semitic god Eshmun. It didn't actually become pagan until later in history. Most likely in the time of Jesus, it was a mikveh, which is a place to cleanse oneself for the festival. There were 2 pools, a northern and a southern pool. You had to have fresh flowing water to remain kosher, so the northern pool would have been a reservoir of water that channeled into the southern pool, which would have created the bubbling effect in the water. Religious leaders would not have been there if it would have been a pagan site. Healing power of the bubbles are strictly superstition. There is no scriptural evidence to back that up. The story of the man that was healed can be found in John chapter 5, verses 2 through 9. The term El Shaddai is one of the most prominent names of God in the Hebrew Bible. It is typically translated as God Almighty. It emphasizes God's ultimate power, strength, provision, and sufficiency. The name El Shaddai is used extensively throughout the Bible, including the books of Genesis, Exodus, and the book of Job. The Birkat Hagamel, the blessing of thanksgiving. This prayer is a formal expression of gratitude recited in the synagogue after one has been saved from a life-threatening situation. The Hatov V'Hamatev is the good one who does good. This blessing is recited in several contexts within Jewish tradition, particularly to express gratitude to God for general goodness or shared positive experiences, including grace after meals, hearing good news, and shared blessings. The essence of the blessing is to recognize God as the ultimate source of goodness in the world, acknowledging both his inherited nature as good and his actions that bring about good things. I hope you enjoy episode 4. I'll be right back with you for post-show discussion and Bible reference guide.